Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Steelers had eyes on trade for injured WR, insider. We are 2 days away from the 2024 NFL trade deadline and the Pittsburgh Steelers are still without a new starting caliber wide receiver. Despite that, The Athletic's Diana Russini reported that the Steelers are still looking for a receiver on November 2nd. 1 day later on November 3rd, NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport provided some more information on Pittsburgh's ongoing search at the position. There are still several WR-needy teams who haven't gained a new pass catcher, including the Steelers, who appear to have been in search for help at the position for months, Rappaport wrote. Pittsburgh, sources say, had eyes on Jacksonville, Jaguars wide receiver Christian Kirk before his season ended with a fractured collarbone in Week 8. If accurate, that could explain some of the delay in Steelers trade talks. It also gives insight into something else, however, the type of wide receiver that Pittsburgh wants for their offense. Kirk is a veteran pass catcher with 6.5 seasons worth of experience in this league. Coming out of college, NFL Network draft expert Lance Zierlein described him as a well-built, mentally tough slot target whose game is built around pace more than explosiveness. His lack of speed and length make him less likely to impact games down the field, but his footwork, route tempo, and hands should give him an opportunity to find catches underneath, Zierlein continued. Kirk's ability to help in the return game is a plus, but the difference between average and good as a receiver could depend on finding the right fit. Fast forward to 2024, and Kirk has shown a lot more versatility than his initial scouting report. Although Kirk has lined up in the slot a lot since moving to Jacksonville, the Arizona Cardinals used to utilize him out wide. In 2020, the playmaker actually lined up outside 83.7% of snaps according to Pro Football Focus. Having said that, at this stage of his career, Kirk is more of a trusty slot receiver that could have potentially pushed Calvin Austin III for opportunities with the Steelers. As Rappaport noted, Kirk is done for the season with a broken collarbone. So, will the Steelers pivot to another trade target that fits a similar mold for offensive coordinator Arthur Smith? Over the past week, The Athletic's Mike DeFabua and Russini both highlighted several remaining wide receivers that could make sense for the Steelers. Out of the players they both listed, Carolina Panthers veteran Adam Thielen is the most similar to Kirk by far. When healthy, Thielen has lined up in the slot 73.1% of the time in 2024, per PFF. Over the course of a full season last year, that slot percentage was similar at 69.1%. Thielen would also provide a similar level of trustiness and experience that Pittsburgh might be looking for, except the Panther has been in the NFL much longer than Kirk. Entering the league in 2014, this is Thielen's 11th campaign. And although he's dealt with injury in 2024, the longtime pass catcher has typically remained healthy throughout his career with 8 years where he appeared in 15 or more games. Thielen also has 3 1,000-yard seasons on his resume, one of which occurred in 2023. He has a career catch percentage of 69.7%. Outside of Thielen, New England Patriots veteran WRs KJ Osborne and Kendrick Bourne have each spent some time in the slot, but not as much as Kirk or Thielen. They could represent versatile trade candidates for the Steelers if the Panthers elect to keep Thielen. Diontae Johnson has quiet debut for Baltimore Ravens. Former Pittsburgh Steelers WR Diontae Johnson made his Baltimore Ravens debut yesterday, and it was whelming. While not unexpected, the veteran saw 0 targets, and of course accordingly caught 0 passes. Acquired just last week, he is still very much in the process of learning the offense, and the Ravens didn't bring him in with an immediate expectation of making some huge impact. Johnson's minimal contributions across about 12.5 snaps shockingly didn't slow the Ravens' offense down. In fact, they matched a season high with 41 points, the third time they've reached that mark this season. Lamar Jackson threw 3 touchdowns, Zay Flowers put up 127 yards and 2 scores, and Derrick Henry rushed for 106 with 2 touchdowns. Jackson only attempted 19 passes throughout the game, Flowers seeing nearly a third of them. Rashad Bateman is the only other player who saw more than 3, drawing 4 with 3 catches. Despite the low attempt total, though, he still targeted 8 different players. The question is how soon and how often he will target Diontae Johnson. Jackson admitted that he was no fan of Johnson while he was with the Steelers, but is happy to have him now. The Ravens brought him in not for the present, but for the near future. They want to get him up to speed so that he can make an impact if and when they need a play. But right now, Zay Flowers is doing a fine job carrying the passing offense. Flowers entered yesterday's game with just 1 touchdown, but he showed he can find the end zone with a pair of scores yesterday. He is now over 650 yards on the season, and the Ravens' clear top receiver. But Johnson can come in and take over some of the snaps from Nelson Agholor and Thielen Wallace. Diontae Johnson has been traded twice this offseason, the Steelers first sending him to the Panthers. They got back CB Dante Jackson for him, who has 3 interceptions on the season. While Johnson made some plays in Carolina, he appeared to wear out his welcome, and they sold him cheap. Amusingly, the Steelers appear to be actively seeking another wide receiver, but they could not bring Johnson back even if they wanted to. A team cannot acquire a player via trade in the same season in which they traded him. So instead, they will have to play him twice, at least, later this year. And the first game between the Ravens and Steelers is coming up in a couple weeks. Johnson will surely have a better grasp of the offense by then. And the Ravens are the sort of time to highlight a player in a game plan for personal reasons, so you can expect they will try to get Johnson opportunities to make plays against the Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers interested in trading for former All-Pro, Pro Bowl wide receivers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are interested in trading for wide receivers Mike Williams and Adam Thielen, ESPN's Adam Schefter reports. Williams has long been a trade target for Pittsburgh, who inquired about him 3 weeks ago when the Jets first landed Davante Adams. Meanwhile, Thielen, who is still recovering from a hamstring strain, could be someone the Steelers acquire late in the process as a no-risk move. Williams is starting for the Jets now after starter Allen Lazard suffered a chest injury that landed him on injured reserve. That could make it far less likely that the Jets would move Williams at this point, especially after a win over the Houston Texans. The Jets have one of the NFL's easiest schedules moving forward and could try to make a playoff push rather than moving players. Thielen has been out since Week 3, when he suffered a hamstring strain. The Panthers have been moving players, including wide receiver Diontae Johnson, as they try to unload players and get to their young guys. Thielen is on the brink of a return, and so a move for the Steelers could make sense to add a veteran option to the room. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Adam Thielen? Leave your opinion in the comments.